The story continues with, Ranko reminisces about the time she first met Chihiro when she visited the temple as a young child. Ranko believed she had found her Prince Charming in Chihiro. However, after learning more about Chihiro, she realized he was nothing more than a lazy, zombie-loving crybaby. By the time she went back to her home, her lover's fever had gone down. Ranko forces Chihiro to help her out with food delivery. While they're on the way, they run into Magi and Yasuda. Yasuda immediately cries at the sight of Chihiro with another woman. As he pesters Chihiro, Ranko smiles slightly and thinks about the past. When her parents moved near Chihiro's place, Ranko started seeing Chihiro a lot more. For some reason, her mother had a soft spot for him, which made Ranko even more depressed. One day, while on the way from a rental store, a dog stood in their way. It was scrawny little Chihiro who saved Ranko from the dog. By the time she was 10, Ranko knew she loved Chihiro. Presently, Ranko asks Chihiro to hold her hand. She asks Chihiro if he remembers the first time they held hands. Chihiro tells her that it was when she first visited him. Ranko masks her shock and happiness by lying to him and saying that she doesn't remember. After delivering the food, Ranko holds Chihiro and leans in for a kiss. When she sees Chihiro's closed eyes, she backs away. Ranko runs away by telling Chihiro that kissing is a big deal. She realizes that she doesn't want to lose Chihiro. With his observation, Chihiro learns that Rei doesn't need to sleep or use the bathroom. Rei then insists that Chihiro take her shopping. As Rei browses through the clothing store, Chihiro thinks about how mundane things like shopping excite Rei. Meanwhile, inside the public bath, Ranko thinks about how Rei is staying with Chihiro. The thought leaves Ranko more uncomfortable than ever. Suddenly, Maro and her friends enter the bathhouse. As the girls exchange greetings, Maro informs Ranko that Chihiro took Rei shopping. This makes her heart sink. On the other hand, Danichiro's men are tailing Rei and Chihiro. Danichiro orders his men to take their time. Chihiro shows Rei a dress that he got for her. Rei expresses her happiness by telling Chihiro that she's glad to have him by her side. When Chihiro leaves to get food for himself, Danichiro's men decide to make their move. Just as they're about to approach Rei, Yasuda greets her and takes her out of the mall. Danichiro's men follow behind. When the time is right, they lunge to kidnap her. Meanwhile, Chihiro tries to find Rei. Upon hearing her helpless scream, Chihiro rushes to her. He is stunned as he watches Rei single-handedly beat the men. Danichiro's men decide to change their strategy. They pick up Chihiro and throw him in the car. A frightened Rei watches the car speed off. We cut to the time when Rei first moved into the temple. Unlike the rest of her family, Maro gives Rei the cold shoulder. Things have changed since Rei. Dune comes to Maro to inform her about his schedule when he makes a note on how Chihiro has gotten so much more responsible since he brought Rei home. Maro finds herself agreeing, as for the first time, she watches her brother work hard for someone's sake. At school, Maro hangs out with her friends, Miko and Ichi. Ichi confidently states that there has been a rise in the zombie population, and the only reason why people are unaware of this is because of the government. Miko asks Ichi if she has seen a zombie. Ichi informs the girls about their art teacher, Mizuki, and how she saw her feed raw meat to a creature concealed inside her bag. That day, the girls decide to spy on their teacher. Mizuki puts her bag down and takes out a raw liver. Just as she opens the bag to reveal what's inside, the girls end up showing their presents. In the car, Mizuki reveals that she loves her pet alligator, which is why she carries it around. Later, Maro thinks about her deceased mother and how her hands always felt cold. This was the only memory she had of her mother. At home, Rei insists on helping around the house. When she puts her hand on Maro, Maro impulsively calls Rei Mama.
Mama!
Ashamed by what she has done, Maro flees the scene but ends up falling and scraping her knee. After Rei patches her up, Maro finds herself opening up a little to Rei. Now back to Chihiro, he finds himself tied up in the Senka household. Arya greets him and disdainfully asks about Rei. As she berates Rei, Chihiro asks her why she's talking about her own child like that. Arya reveals that she never gave birth and that she's the second wife. Arya further discloses that before she became Danichiro's wife, she was a maid. Many years ago, the Senka family assembled an eligible batch of maids. Danichiro was to pick his wife among these women. However, in the end, everyone failed to sway Danichiro. Just when they all suspect that Danichiro isn't interested in women, he decided to marry a 15-year-old sick commoner girl. Despite his family's opposition, Danichiro married the girl and had Rei. Not long after that, she passed away, leaving Danichiro devastated. During this time, Arya took on the tedious job of healing Danichiro. Her labor soon bore fruit as Danichiro took her as his wife. But after years of yearning for him, their butler showed Arya the true face of Danichiro. Arya then slips off her robe and asks Chihiro to comfort her with his body. Chihiro denies her and claims that she is only interested in zombie girls. Her anger turns into sadness as she begins to weep about her life. A maid comes and takes Chihiro. Soon, he finds himself in a room filled with Rei's pictures. Danichiro makes an appearance and thanks Chihiro for bringing Rei back to life. He ominously adds that despite being grateful, he can't forgive him. Danichiro brings Chihiro to his fencing room. He asks him to pick any equipment and states that whoever wins will be considered worthy of having Rei. Rei makes her way home and immediately orders the maids to take her to Chihiro. Instead, the maids ambush her and lock her in a room. They half-heartedly apologize and inform Rei that they're just following Danichiro's orders. A wicked idea comes into their heads as they decide to have fun with Rei. After stringing up Rei, the maids play dress up with her. They gush and fawn over her cuteness while ignoring her helpless pleas. After having enough of it, Rei angrily breaks the shackles. Chihiro complains about how the game is unfair because he doesn't know fencing. Danichiro calls him a frail boy and wonders loudly why Rei would love someone like him. Upon hearing this, Chihiro chuckles and says that it's because Danichiro is a creep. As someone who takes naked photos of her own daughter, Danichiro is way off about love. When Chihiro turns his head, Danichiro lodges a sword inside him. Rei comes just in time, wearing a bunny outfit. Despite having a sword inside of him, Chihiro excitedly takes in Rei's appearance. When Danichiro angrily asks how he's still standing, Chihiro realizes that he has turned into a half-zombie after Rei licked his open wounds. As both Rei and Chihiro knock sense into Danichiro, Danichiro finally accepts defeat. Before going away, Danichiro sternly tells Chihiro not to strip Rei of her innocence. After freeing Rei from her father's clutches, Chihiro finds himself contemplating the responsibility he has taken. He wonders if Rei will ever get to experience the kind of life that she wants. Moreover, with the threat of Rei's body decaying, Chihiro comes to realize that housing a zombie isn't as simple as he thought it would be. When the fire festival they intended to attend gets cancelled, Ranko makes the suggestion of holding a mini festival of their own. Chihiro informs Rei and Mero about the festival. He tells Rei that Ranko will lend her a yukata. Rei finds herself getting uncomfortable after hearing Ranko's name, as she knows about her feelings for Chihiro. Later that day, Ranko helps Rei wear her yukata. Rei asks Ranko if she likes Chihiro. Ranko spontaneously tells her that she does. When Ranko asks her the same question, Rei hesitates to answer. The two women then have a heart-to-heart, and Ranko tells Rei to make every day worthwhile because that's what normal girls do. She wishes Rei well, and the two smile at each other. After a heartwarming night filled with friends and fireworks, Rei makes the bold decision to go back to school. The following day, Rei and Chihiro close the distance between them by having a heartfelt conversation. As Rei engulfs Chihiro, he finds himself connecting to Rei in both pain and sadness. Ending the story of the zombie-loving boy and a lovely zombie girl. With Rei now finally been able to live like a normal girl, there is a happy ending to this story. Thanks for watching, stay tuned for some more awesome anime recap.